Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Versus the World podcast. I'm Reese,
I'm Wesley.
and I think this is either going to be Metal Gear versus the world or Solid Snake versus the world.
True.
But my lovely buddy Wesley here, in typical Versus the World fashion, I have already experienced this lovely piece of art, and Wesley, for the first time, has played through Metal Gear Solid 1.
True. It's like I am a new child to this world, experiencing its beauty and richness for the first time.
That feels very Kojima Ian-esque.
True.
This is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, this is absolutely my top 10 favorites.
Wow.
Which is funny because I'm very picky with how I give my ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And I give this game like a strong 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I just to like skip it to the end of like what we rated this.
Yeah.
And I feel like if it's in my top 10 games ever, it should probably be a 10.
I see what you mean, but I think that it's very fair to be like, this thing that I love has some flaws, you know? I don't think that's out of the question necessarily.
Yeah, I only give 10s to things that it's like, this shit changed my life. And like, I love MGS1, but I don't know if it like changed my life.
That's fair. I think that's reasonable. I know that this changed some people's lives.
I feel like this changed all of Sony's lives because every game the Sony PlayStation has made since MGS1 came out has been fucking either trying to be FF7 or, more accurately, MGS1.
That's true. True.
So, I guess, Wesley, you got to take the reins here, man. You're the, this is all about you. What did you think?
Well, buddy, I of course have a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to like structure my thoughts in a way that makes sense because I feel like there's just so much to talk about. I feel like the two things that I'm dying to talk about after experiencing this wonderful game are I definitely want to talk about how this game in theory and sometimes even in execution is very similar to today's like movie game slop where the cutscenes are usually like way too long and there's a lot of cutscenes and cutscenes move the story forward. So I definitely want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about how this game, despite being very old in the scheme of like gaming as a video games as an art medium, still has some of the best fourth wall breaks I've ever experienced that are still like interesting and fascinating to discuss even today.
It's a damn shame that they both like don't technically work anymore.
That's true. Well, one of them works depending on how you play it. And the second one you can make work, but it sucks to try to do that.
I'm trying to think about. I don't know. I feel like this game revolutionized so much. I mean,
Yeah.
I think this might be the first game to ever like think about camera angles as if this were a movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is a movie game, but not derogatory. I think I may have told you this, but there's a very famous story where to plan out the scenes for this game, Kojima built every like room out of Legos and would like think about where the camera would be.
You did not tell me that. That's incredible though. Wow.
I know, and I feel like that like eye for cinematography is something that somehow games to this day have not figured out. Like, I feel like if you were to play The Last of Us, it's just still like shot reverse shot.
Right. For the most part, I feel like the only like game director that I've consistently played that like has that figured out is Suda51.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I guess I don't know. I'm even thinking like I know people love some of the cutscenes in like Zelda games, and even those are just like for the most part it is just like shot reverse shot. So like yeah, that is a great point.
Kojima is someone who loves movies. That is like sort of his famous thing that like on Twitter, that's all he tweets about is like, hey guys, I saw this movie, here's my thoughts. And like people will use that as a barometer of quality because
True.
He does have good taste because this is all he lives for is like movies. I don't know much about his childhood, but I would assume it was like mostly watching movies, not even playing games, just watching movies.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think people get so caught up in the cinematic elements of Metal Gear that they don't. I feel like it's easy to glaze over how much Kojima does love the medium and the art form of video games, and like how good he is at making them.
True. I mean, for what it's worth, this is also like one of the most like detailed and meticulous games I've ever played. In terms of just like what you can do. I think this is like maybe a silly thing to be fascinated by, but like I just kept collecting items and weapons, and I'm still shocked that there's that many things that you can have that all function differently, to the point where there's like things that I never ended up using. Like there was one mask that I don't know when you're supposed to use it. Maybe I did something incorrectly because I never used it. And then, like, you can have a pack of cigarettes where it says you can, like, smoke them. And I also don't know if that does anything, but I never did.
I know what the cigarettes do.
What do they do?
The cigarettes are very important because they, whenever you enter a room with lasers, you smoke the cigarettes and it'll show the lasers.
Wow, that's actually very cool. I always just put on the X-ray vision goggles.
Well, that's the thing is that I think something that I appreciate about Kojima is he gives you multiple solutions to problems.
Yeah, that is very cool. I feel like that's something that people talk about a lot today with specifically like Breath of the Wild. But obviously that's not the first game to do that. And it's very cool to see like even people back in the 1900s, as we like to say, were thinking about that stuff.
I want to say there's another use of the cigarettes other than just like seeing the lasers in like the laser rooms, but it's still awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure it just looks cool as well.
It does. I want to say it also slowly drains your health, which is really funny.
I was hoping that something like that would be the case. That is funny.
Smoking's bad, okay?
True.
This is off topic, but I feel like I am kind of nostalgic for when people were allowed to smoke in art. They're not really allowed to do that anymore.
That is true.
Like, I imagine a world in which One Piece was made today. They would not be letting Sanji hitting those ciggies.
True. I don't think he does in the live action, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he doesn't. And he doesn't have his curly eyebrow. They really robbed my man's.
I know.
This is a very interesting episode because I actually have not replayed MGS1 for this episode. This is more so just I wanted to discuss this lovely game with my buddy.
Yeah.
So I don't have like a fresh memory on the events of this game.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
Despite that, I feel like I do have a pretty good grasp just because this is such an iconic game and like there's so many iconic set pieces. And I think something that this is actually advice from Toby Fox himself, is he said like the key to making a good game, especially on like a little bit of a tighter budget, which obviously MGS1 did not have like a tightest budget of Undertale, but
right.
build your game around iconic and short set pieces in quick succession. Don't like linger on one thing.
Right.
And I think MGS1 does that very well.
Yeah.
And so does like a lot of like older like Silent Hill 2. I know that the complaint that Narrow had with the remakes is that there's so much like filler added in between the iconic moments. I think that's a bad lesson to take in like the modern age.
Agreed. There's a lot of excess in games today that is definitely unnecessary.
Yeah, it's not even fun excess. Like, wow, you can cut someone into a million pieces, like MGR.
True,
or, like,
that is fun excess.
We added every single pore on this woman's skin, and it reacts to how wet she is. And I'm like, okay, well, is the game fun?
That actually disturbs me, honestly.
I know. Have you heard about how Red Dead Redemption 2 is horse balls physics?
I have. I mean...
Like, that's not necessary.
True.
It's funny, but...
Yeah. I think this is very much like a... to compare this to something that we've been talking about IRL a lot recently, this felt a lot like Spider-Man 1 for the gaming industry, where it's like... This was like a great idea by like an artier, but it also kind of gave every single other like slop director all the wrong lessons.
True.
And
True. And I think for what it's, I've said this to you off cam. Sorry to interrupt. I said this to you off mic, but I think MGS4 especially is like where like the modern Sony movie game comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So because like this, for what it's worth, despite this having a lot of cutscenes, it still has like boss battles.
Yeah.
And like it's still like a cool Metroidvania.
Right. True. That is true. And the boss battles are great. Maybe not all of them hit like today in the modern scape, but I think they are almost all like some of the best bosses I've ever fought.
Well, I'm trying to think through them. There's the Revolver Ocelot fight, which is fun.
Yeah.
There's Gray Fox, which is pretty good, but I mean, I love Gray Fox and I love that moment.
Yeah.
But as a fight, you just kind of like run up and punch him.
Right.
But it's like fun to have to figure out because like you shoot him and you like stab him and you're like, what? He's not going down.
True.
So it's kind of fun to have to figure out when he's like, we have to use our fists. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's Sniper Wolf, which is like a cool ass sniper duel and is really sad and goated.
Mm-hmm.
There's Vulcan Raven, which is peak. That's like the most fun boss.
Yeah. That fight.
Psycho Mantis is obviously the goat.
True. There's the original boss fight, like the first boss fight where you have to blow up the tank. That kind of sucks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then
that's when you get a call from Deep Throat.
Yes. And then there's Metal Gear Rex, and there's Liquid. I think those are all the fights.
Sounds right.
Well, technically you have 2 fights against Sniper Wolf, but...
Oh, yeah, but I wasn't counting the first one, where you, like, Meryl gets shot, and you have to... I think that is maybe the craziest part of the game, is when Meryl gets shot, and he goes, like, I have to get a sniper rifle, and you have to run back through the entire game, pick up a sniper rifle, and then run back to where you were.
Yeah, that definitely felt like old Metroidvania kind of gameplay. I'm not opposed to backtracking, but...
the game is so good, I will excuse it. Like, I was not, like... I was invested in Meryl. I was invested in, like, saving her, so I felt the urgency. I went and I ran there, and it didn't, like, kill the game's pacing for me, but I was in my brain. I was like, this is a bad idea. This is aged poorly.
Yeah. Reese, something you said to me recently that I've been turning over my mind because it kind of, like, restructured how I think about things is when you mentioned that, like, subconsciously we kind of give, like, good or bad dollars to, like, pieces of arts. And, like,
yes,
if there's enough good dollars, we kind of, like, cash it in and just forget about the bad dollars. And I think that's very apparent for this game, because this game definitely has flaws. But, like, it's just so fun and cool most of the time that, like, I just don't really care that much.
Mm-hmm. That's very fair.
But, yeah, I agree that moment was not... Personally, I was a little bit frustrated by the pacing there, but I can also understand that, like, I can see the vision of what he's trying to accomplish, but I don't know if it fully paid off, like, correctly for me. But once again, it's a little blip of negativity in, like, the grand scheme of this game.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not gonna sit here and say this is a game without flaws. Trust me.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, getting more into Sniper Wolf, and just the cast in general, I think another very cool thing about this game is that all the characters feel very fleshed out.
Oh, yeah. Like, even Sniper Wolf, I feel like in theory doesn't get to do that much.
Yeah. I will say in my complaints, I feel like some of the women characters in this game, I don't necessarily love how they were handled when it comes to their, like, arc throughout the game. However, I do think Sniper Wolf, despite being maybe a little bit one note, is still cool. And I think something that speaks to this game as a whole is, like, honestly, I was kind of treating this game in my mind as just, like, an action movie. And I was like, what of these elements would I not care about if this was just, like, a cool action movie? And I think some of the characters being a little bit one note is something that I can, like, forgive. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, a good example. Actually, I think this is a funny example. I think Otakon is just kind of, like, a funny... Maybe one note is too harsh, but, like, he doesn't necessarily have, like, the deepest background in this game. But I still think that Otakon is, like, one of my favorite characters in the game, and I love him dearly.
Adore him. Also, very big plus two to you for calling him Otakon, which would be the technical correct pronunciation of his name.
How do people call him?
They call him Otakon because that's what the games all call him.
Oh,
But they don't call him. We don't call them like. That's not how you would say otakus.
Yeah, that's actually true. I guess my mind just reflexively was like, oh, it's got to be Otakon.
Yeah, but no, I mean every corner of the internet they call him like Otakon because that's what they call, like they pronounce it Otakon despite that not being because these are voice actors who are not like weebs.
True.
So they're just like, oh, OTA, yeah, Otta, got it, Otakon.
I think
I call him Otakon even though that's not correct.
Yeah. Maybe I do need to switch back to Otakon. I don't know. Otakon just sounds so much better to me.
I respect that. I mean, you're not wrong.
I appreciate
it. There's a meme I once saw that basically like Otakon is actually just like a fake otaku. That's why he's like saying it wrong. It's obviously not true, but it's like, funny to imagine he's pretending to be a weeb.
That would be funny. I mean, once again, this is a very Suda51-esque thing. Obviously, Kojima did it first, but I am just so charmed by the fact that this is like, what is it, like an Ameriboo? Like, Kojima is clearly like making this a love letter to like American media, and then he makes one of the characters like a stand-in as like a weeaboo. I just think that's what Suda51 does with Travis Touchdown, and I'm just like, I'll always be charmed by that. Like a Japanese creator trying to like make a weeb in America. I just think there's something so charming about that.
And for what it's worth, I think it shocks me.
Yeah.
In a lesser writer's hands, Otakon should be like the most famous like horrible character of all time. Like he should be like a Navi or like that guy from Metroid Prime 4 who's like, Samus, I'll get the door for you. Well, that everyone hates. But
yeah.
I unironically think Otakon is one of the strongest characters in this game, and I adore him with my whole heart.
Agreed.
And I love the like criticism that he's sort of like narratively infusing into the game of like, I just thought like war was cool on like in my little Japanese animes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I need to realize that like A, this is real life, and B, maybe it's harmful to sort of just uncritically worship like giant death robots.
Right. They are cool, but I just want them as like a cool
really
figure on my desk. I don't want them to be real.
I mean, just so we're clear, I would pay good money for a Metal Gear Rex figure.
I know. I'm very sad that the only one on the market right now is like the $290 like metal die cast kit.
I actually have a funny story about that.
Yeah.
When it first released, they accidentally priced it at like $40. So I and a bunch of people like blowed up.
Yeah.
We exploded the like Amazon Prime order button, and then they basically just canceled all the orders. They're like, "Oh, we were just the wrong price. Sorry."
Oh my god, that's so sad.
I was like, "No fucking way! It's $40. What are you talking about?"
Oh my bad. It's not $290. It's $360.
Yeah. So imagine you picking that up for like a cool two $20 bills.
That's how much you can get the new Pokemon set of games.
True.
Oh, I'd imagine that this is a spoiler, but I'm seeing some from other games that like other robots from Metal Gear for cheaper on Big Bad Toy Store.
That is funny. Thank you, Big Bad Toy Store.
But yeah, that is very funny. We all love Otakon. I think there's many moments in this game where I was really trying to think like, why does this game work where so many others fail? And I think the one that came to my mind immediately was like, why do the fourth wall breaks work even though they're so old and don't necessarily work in today's day and age? And why do the cutscenes work? But I think Otakon is another example where you're right, like any other creator would make this character suck and annoying and people would hate him. But I have a little funny anecdote where I watched some videos about MGS1 after I finished it, and I saw how if Meryl dies, you get the Otakon ending, which is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And
Yes.
all the comments are actually like, this is the ending I like more because Otacon and Snake are such good friends. And that was like all the comments. And I was like, this is actually really based and cool. Like, I like this fan base response to this.
I unironically think that is based because I honestly do care about Otacon and Snake's relationship more than Meryl and Snake.
I'm glad you say that because I actually agree.
I think the one criticism I would really levy at this game, writing wise, like between like the character writing,
Yeah.
is I don't really think they develop the male and female like romantic developments very well. Like
I agree.
the Otacon Sniper Wolf scene is like the best scene in this game, in spite of the fact that it's written really poorly.
Right. It's
Like, they
very
don't
well
interact at all, and she clearly doesn't care about him.
Right. It's very well directed. But you're right that it's not very well written.
But I mean, like, that scene is amazing. I love the, like, can love bloom on the battlefield, but, like, those
Yeah.
two characters, I do not believe their relationship for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
And partially, I think that's intentional. Because, like, obviously, Otacon's got way more of, like, a puppy crush, and she doesn't actually give a fuck about him.
Right.
Like, that's a little intentional, but I still think it's, like, missing some sauce.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I agree with that.
And I think I do actually really like Meryl, I will say.
That's fair.
But I definitely don't think I'm like super sold on like her romance with Snake. Is that fair to say? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know a single person who ever even like talks about that aspect of this game. It's like, I think the ending like conversation they have and like them riding off into the sunset on like the little jet ski thing, snowmobile, is good. But like, I'm not like, wow, what a great character dynamic. Like, I do care more about Otacon.
I want Otacon and Snake to ride off into the sunset, man.
I know. Can I share with you a fun fact?
Please do. I love fun facts.
Also, hold on. Rosie is barking to be let in, so let me be right back.
We're all barking.
God damn it. Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Sorry, she was yelping and crying.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's just like the wolves, like Sniper Wolf's wolves.
True. But my note is my fun fact is every single Metal Gear Solid game was intended to be the last one.
That is interesting.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 were all like, yep, this is the end of Metal Gear Solid. So I think that does something very interesting in which they all feel very conclusive.
I honestly really appreciate that, actually.
Because, like, I mean, there's obviously some, like, teases. Because, like, if you remember at the end of this game, we get that little post-credit scene. It was like, Mr. President.
Oh my god, we need to talk about that a little bit more, because I think that scene is fascinating.
But I think that it sort of is interesting to me that Kojima was, like, putting these little sequel hooks into something he thought was going to be the end.
True. I hate to be this guy, buddy, but you know who else does this all the time? Mr. Suda51.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
The parallels are too crazy. But
They're parallel lines, man.
True.
These two creators.
But I do really appreciate that. I honestly think the way to go for things like this is just like having a conclusive ending, and then like if you want to tease something, just like make a little end credit scene. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Did this invent the Marvel post-credit scene?
True. Literally. But yeah, I think that end credit scene kind of blew my mind. Is it crazy to say that that's the end credit scene is kind of creepy?
No, not at all.
Like, just the way the voice acting is superb in that moment, and then
Oh yeah.
just the fact that it's like the black screen with just Metal Gear Solid on it, and there's like weird like metallic grumbling sounds. I think Solidus is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Like, I actually laughed out loud when I heard that.
Yes. Yes.
But, like, I'm not saying that in, like, a negative way. I just think it's... This game balances, like, excess and, like, being reserved very well. And I think when it does indulge itself with something absurd like that, it actually ends up working because it knows when to be reserved. And I was like, oh my god, there's actually some kind of, like, weird clone named Solidus, and he's like going to be a hulking beast, and we have to fight that at some point. Like, I think that's crazy.
I'm desperately trying to find like a transcript of the post-credit scene just so I can know exactly what you know.
Yeah, I'm just assuming that he's going to be like a hulking beast. I don't. It doesn't actually say that, but that's just how I assume that he's going to look, based on how they describe it. I think it's also this is like a Danganronpa V3 situation where I appreciate that the fan base has not really spoiled a lot of things, because I wasn't really spoiled on anything going into this, even though a lot of this game has like permeated culture so much.
That's actually a great point. I have been spoiled. I feel like I went in spoiled on a lot of things, but I'm also just like in those spaces where people talk about how much they love MGS.
That's fair. I mean, I'm sorry to jump around while you're looking something up, but I'm very interested in discussing the Psychomantis fights at length.
I mean, I know that's probably your favorite moment, and that's your GOAT.
True.
I think I saw a very strong narrative analysis of MGS1 once.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of mentioned how MGS1, up until Psychomantis, does its best to be very grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And it uses Psychomantis to totally just, like, blow your mind and, like, catch you off guard.
Yeah. It's very much like Matthew Patel crashing through the ceiling in Scott Pilgrim.
Yes. I mean, he literally, I think we're introduced to him by him, like, floating through the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's just supposed to shatter your reality.
This is another funny anecdote, but I actually talked to my dad about this game when I started playing it, and he was like, when I started playing it, he asked if I had gotten to the Psychomantis fight yet, and I was like, no, I haven't. And he just was like, we got to talk about it later, because I actually was not even spoiled on anything relating to him.
Oh my god, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like I thought everyone just knew about the Psychomantis fight.
I did not. So, like, when that stuff started happening, genuinely, like, my jaw was on the floor. I had, like, the biggest smile on my face. And then I looked up afterwards that he was, like, reading. Well, first of all, it is jank how they have to, like, transfer over some of the stuff into, like, the new collection. Like, having to, like, go into the weird game menu to switch your controller outlet.
Yes,
kind of sucks. But I still appreciate how, like, novel that idea is. And then when I looked up online, and Psychomantis was literally reading your, like, PS1 mem cards.
He's like, you like Castlevania, don't you?
That is, like, the most mind-blowingly cool thing I've genuinely ever heard of in my entire life.
It's so good. It's so good.
And that's, like, I think what I love about Psychomantis is that all of that stuff will be cool on, like, by itself. If that was his only thing, he would still be, like, one of my favorite characters. But then he's also he has all this weird, like, waxing poetic dialogue about, like, living and dying and sex and all these other things. And it's really fascinating and interesting.
And then he takes over Meryl and you have to punch her in the head.
True. And he keeps freezing the game and it, like, says Hideo on it, which is very funny.
Yes.
Like, I just love that he has so many different, like, things to him. He's not just, like, a one-note guy. Sorry, go ahead.
Another small thing about this fight is that if you are somehow unable to switch your controller ports, there's, like, another back route to beating this boss, which is awesome.
That is awesome. That's very cool. Yeah. I don't know. Is it safe to say that this is just, like, pure genius? Like,
It is.
I don't know, man.
You're absolutely cooking.
Thank you, man. I just love this fight. I mean, I guess on a technical scale, like, maybe it's not actually the most satisfying to actually play, but like I really don't care at all. Like everything else about it is just so perfect that I just don't care.
I think the gameplay is still really good though.
I think generally it is, and I think this fight is like fine. It doesn't like I think the Raven fight is just so peak that like
True.
I comparing it to that, it definitely doesn't live up to that like gameplay standard, but like this one having like maybe like 6 or 7 out of 10 for the gameplay and then like 11 out of 10 for everything else, like obviously this is still like a 10 or 11 out of 10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um
I feel like what's crazy is for some reason I thought we wouldn't have that much to say about this game, but I still feel like I have so much I want to talk about. Like we've not even talked about my goat, Gray Fox.
I know he's also peak. He has maybe the best design in this game.
Oh my god, his design is so perfect.
True.
In Metal Gear Rising, you can use his design as a skin.
That is very cool. I did not know that. That's very peak. It surprises me to hear that you aren't as hot on the gameplay of his boss fight, because he was actually probably my second favorite boss in terms of gameplay.
I just felt like it was a little. I mean, it wasn't bad. I from what I'm remembering, I just remember like being like, "Oh god damn it, my guns aren't working. I guess I'll punch him. Oh, okay, I guess that worked." End of fight.
That's fair. I mean, I guess I am coming fresh off of like the Liquid Snake fight, which is also just a punching fight, and that fight was like,
yeah, but I thought that was peak.
I think
and you didn't like it.
That's actually true, because I think the story for that one is peak, but I think that's like one of the most frustrating fights in the game.
It is annoying. I'll absolutely grant it. But.
Yeah, and I feel kind of the opposite. No, actually, no. I think the writing for the Gray Fox is also peak. So I don't know. But trust me, I still think the Liquid fight is cool generally. But I do personally think I prefer the gameplay and the story for Gray Fox a little bit more.
I think speaking of Gray Fox and Liquid, I think something that took me out of the game is we see Gray Fox's death scene. And I think it's like pure peak. It got me in the feels.
Yeah.
It was emotionally resonant. And then you go to... He like basically gets taken out by Metal Gear Rex, and you get to fight Metal Gear Rex now.
Right.
I'm taken out of the game by that fight is really fucking hard, and I had to redo it a bunch of times. And then every single time it replays the cutscene of him dying. And eventually I'm like, okay, well now it's kind of lost the emotional impact.
I do agree, but luckily I found a way where you can just like continuously throw if for the second phase you can throw a bunch of like stun grenades and just like cheese the fight.
That is funny.
So I ended up not seeing it that many times, but I can definitely understand that complaint, because I saw it like 3 times, and like even on the 3rd time I was like, okay, I get the picture.
And this fucked up, because that really is one of my favorite parts of the game is his death scene.
Yeah,
but
it is peak.
His final stand.
Yeah. Yes.
But yes, Gray Fox is my goat.
Yes.
I adore him. I think he's not only the coolest part of this game, just like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
True.
But I love his tragic story. I love his tragic character. I love his like angst. I love his edginess.
Yeah.
Like I love when he's like, yes, let's fight and kill. And also like his like aspect of being like a zombie, and he's like, I'm already dead inside. It's like, oh fuck, every angle of him just works so well.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
I think the twist of his sister being Naomi is interesting.
That's another part of this game that like I like it in theory, but not so much execution, I think.
That's fair.
Is it crazy to say that the woman that I like, the woman character I like the most in this game is Mei Ling?
That's not crazy at all. It's actually the most reasonable thing you've ever said.
I just think she's very fun. I don't know. I think she's handled well throughout the entire game.
Hold on. She has a very bubbly and fun personality. I like her like weird Chinese anecdotes she gives you.
Exactly. The reason I bring this up is because I actually also really like Naomi, but I think where Naomi's character falls apart a little bit is the execution of like the twists surrounding her.
I agree.
But I really like her as a character. But Mei Ling has the benefit of like she's just pretty straightforward throughout, and I think she's just well handled for the entire thing. I just like her dynamic with
likable.
Snake.
I think it's crazy. I think the amount of codec calls in that game for like a PS1 game is like obscenely high.
I know.
Like there are so many damn situational and like weird pieces of information you can get.
Yeah, that's another thing where the level of detail. I think another place in this game where my mind was blown with the level of detail is where I started realizing that I can make codec calls to certain characters at any point, and like 90% of the time, characters will have completely unique dialogue depending on like where you are in the game,
Yes,
which is insane.
I basically had that same experience where at the very start I like didn't call anyone because I was like, why would I do that? And then I realized like, wait a minute, so they all have like information about every single aspect of this fucking game. Pick up a new weapon, you can call every single person and they'll talk to you about it.
I know, it's so cool. The collection has like a digital script book, but genuinely I would pay top dollar premium money for like a hardcover script book of this game, because it's just, not only is it super well written, but I would just love to like go through all the details of like all the different like little dialogue trees that are possible.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an infinite amount.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to reveal to you my favorite thing about my experience playing this game.
Please do.
So, at the ending of this game,
Yeah.
they reveal that Master Miller was actually dead the whole time,
Yes.
and he was actually just liquid.
Yes. True.
Now, this is crazy for me specifically, because prior to MGS 1,
Yeah.
the only Metal Gear games I'd ever played was I played most or like half of 5. Probably like maybe like a third of 5.
Okay.
And then like the first half an hour of 3.
Interesting. Okay.
And the context that I got from 5 is Miller is one of the most important characters in 5.
Oh, really?
Because in 5 you're playing as Big Boss, and Miller is effectively your Otacon. Like, he is your, like, guy.
I see.
So when I boot up Metal Gear Solid 1, and one of the first characters is Miller, I'm like, holy shit, dude, it's Miller. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Like, notably, like, amazing character that everyone likes in 5. And no one, and I mean no one online had spoiled to me that he dies.
That's actually very peak. That's awesome.
So, I go through this whole game constantly calling my buddy Miller, because I'm like, dude, I didn't know you trained Snake. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Bye, Miller. And, because I'm just over the moon. I'm like, dude, this is like one of my goats.
Yeah.
And when they just go, oh yeah, Miller like died before the beginning of the game, I was just like, what?
I know.
It was heartbreaking. Like that's the most emotionally impactful moment of the whole damn game for me, and it wouldn't work on anyone else on Earth because I played this in a weird ass order.
That's genuinely very peak. That's so cool.
It was heartbreaking, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wow.
I do think that is a great twist for the record that's Liquid.
True. It's a very funny moment when in the codec call he like slicks his hair back to reveal it's him. But I giggle because like I genuinely do love that moment. I think it's very peak. But it just it's another thing that feels like straight out of like a action flick, which I appreciate.
Yes. It's like the Die Hard like Hans Gruber moment kind of.
Yeah, true.
Sort of. What did you think of the Colonel? The famous Colonel.
I found myself like appreciating him more than like actually enjoying him. I think he's very well written, and I was like emotionally invested in his relationship with Snake. Like when it seems like he's going to betray Snake and stuff like that. I was like like, man, that sucks. But looking at like the collective of the cast of characters here, he is not like one of the standouts to me.
I agree. I think he's more interesting as. Hold on, I'm gonna cough. Woo. I think he's mostly interesting as like the twist and then reverse twist of he's basically just sent you here to die and like doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He's just like using you, but then there's the reverse twist of but he actually does care.
Right.
I almost wish they hadn't reverse twisted and just kept him as like a bastard man.
Right.
As like a tool, a pawn in the grand game of U.S. politics.
Right. I agree with that. I think I do really appreciate what this game is saying about like war and the U.S. government. I think, granted, I think some of it is a little bit like a little bit on the nose, which I don't like necessarily take issue with, but something I do appreciate is like the nuance about the U.S. government using people and how like the actual humans in the U.S. government, like the U.S. government as a system will like use and abuse people, but the individuals in the system will actually feel regret and remorse for that. And I think that's a really interesting, like nuanced way to look at it. So on that level, I appreciate the like weird double twist, but at the same time, I think it would have been more thematically. It would have made more thematic sense if he was just like didn't care at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not like a super big hater of that moment. I just think I don't know.
Yeah.
Another thing that this is off topic.
Yeah.
But something that I just remembered I want to mention is there's a moment in the beginning where they reveal that like copy octopus.
Yes.
What's his name?
Yeah.
That guy is killed, and they sort of insinuate that Gray Fox did it, and I think that was one of my favorite moments initially. It turns out that no, he actually just died from your Fox die because he was like the guy. He was the DARPA chief at the beginning.
True.
But I thought the idea that this was basically a Mega Man like enemy gauntlet that Gray Fox was also running through was like the coolest idea ever, and I kind of wish they had done that.
Yeah, that would have been peak. I agree.
Like, I don't know why, but like this boss you don't get to fight, someone else took care of it, is a very cool trope. In fact, No Warriors 2 kind of does it, kind of. I think it does it a little poorly.
Yeah. Some games should do it properly and completely throughout the game.
Yes.
Because it is a very cool idea.
But, okay, there's one more titular character and boss we have to talk about, and that's Revolver Ocelot.
Yes. I think this is another one of the characters that is like iconic for a reason. And like I think he's the first boss fight in this game where I was like, man, this game rocks. Like him like shooting stuff off the wall and you have to like chase him around and try to shoot him at a distance. Like it's very campy and funny, but it also just like works very well.
I also love his whole thing of like, I love to reload in the middle of battle.
Yeah.
It gets me off.
Yeah. I mean, of course, one sequence that I was like, we got to talk about when we record is the damn torture chamber sequence.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I mean, my confession to you is that I had to use the spoon method, which I saw online, which seems to be a pretty common way to like get through this. Because like, oh my god, I can't fathom why this is so hard.
Yeah, I think that is a genuine critique of this game. I think that's a cool scene, but
Yeah.
that is like ridiculously hard.
Yeah. Like, I specifically made like save slots after that because I was like, I might want to replay this game one day, but I do not want to redo that section. I'm not gonna lie.
That's so funny.
But yeah, for what it's worth, I do think like Ocelot like goading him during that sequence and being like, "Can you take any more?" and stuff like that is actually peak.
He's doing JOI with him.
True.
But no, that shit is really peak.
Yeah.
I have to show you after we get done recording. I have to show you a lovely meme video about that scene.
Sounds good. I also just think I was personally like taken out of it a little bit because like there's just something very humorous to me of like Snake being strapped to this thing and it's like the electric torture chamber. And Revolver Ocelot is like, all right, here we go again. And then Snake just like screams for like 5 minutes while I'm furiously button mashing. Like, it is a little absurd, but
No, it is. That's just fair. That's just true. It's freaking true.
But once again, this is a situation where I'm like, it's still just like this game as a whole is peak, so I can like forgive the fact that it's a little bit funny and corny. That like, there's, I kept thinking of like a certain moment in another thing where it's like the torture chamber in another thing that's also like this absurd. But I cannot remember what it is right now, which is gonna kill me.
I don't know what you're talking about off the top of my head, but that is interesting.
My mind is going to that there's this horrible Steven Seagal movie that has a torture chamber sequence where they like rip off this guy's toenails.
Oh.
And it's like it's filmed very horribly, and it's basically just like a bunch of close-ups on the guy's face as he like screams like "Rawr, rawr," and I was very much reminded of that, but I don't think that was specifically what I was thinking of.
That is hilarious.
Agreed.
And I think it is definitely wise to draw parallels to action movies, just because MGS1 is clearly like the most in love with American action movies anything has ever been.
True. I mean, Reese, I think the big question I have for you is like, what makes this game work so well where almost all Sony movie games today are just pure slop? Like, what about the cutscenes and the execution works for this that doesn't work today?
I think it's incredibly, like, bone-shakingly earnest. That's actually fair. Is trying to say something with nuance instead of, like, for random example, an incredibly stupid both sides are wrong revenge story inspired by a certain country's struggles.
That's actually true.
And I think it's made by someone who wants to make video games, not movies, is the most important third final step.
Right.
A lot of people have sort of levied that criticism against Kojima of, oh, he clearly wants to make movies. And that is the one criticism I will completely just be like, there's 0% truth to that.
Yeah.
Kojima wants to make video games based on movies. He does not want to make movies.
Right. I agree with that. I think you and I talk a lot about like the strengths and weaknesses of different mediums. Of course, this is actually I just realized this is our first non-manga thing that we're talking about for this channel.
We talked about Baron no Matsuri, the movie.
Oh, true. That is a great point. But I think, something that I've really come to appreciate with discussing so much manga is that, like, a great mangaka will, like, understand their medium and, like, use it to the fullest extent. And I think there are a lot of things in MGS1 where it's, like, something would be lost if this was just a movie. Where, for example, like, I played a little bit of God of War, the new, like, PS4 one. And like some of the action is fun from what I experienced, but I think if there's a great like God of War movie, I don't know if I personally would think that there's much loss there, which I think is a shame.
Yeah, I think my biggest critique of The Last of Us is pretty universally people say that if you just watch the show
right
or a let's play of the game, you're losing nothing.
Yeah. And that's bad.
Because I have literally in my entire life never seen a single person even mention the gameplay of The Last of Us. Especially Last of Us 1. Last of Us 2 people bring it up just to dunk on it. But
true.
Because they're angry. But true. Last of Us 1 people are like, it's the best game ever made. There's this cutscene and this cutscene and this cutscene and this cutscene, and that's it.
True.
Because it's just a generic third-person shooter that sucks.
Yeah.
But MGS1, I feel like watching a Let's Play would just rob you of the experience.
Right.
Because it's fun to become familiar with Shadow Moses. It's fun to solve these puzzles in multiple various ways. It's fun to fight these bosses. And especially, it's fun to experience the fourth wall breaks for yourself.
Yeah. That is definitely something that's... Actually, Reese, I've been waiting to bring up this comparison the whole time. And I think this is going to make you laugh and smile, man. I'm going to take you back to Wesley, the high schooler.
To play shitty games that suck ass.
Not quite. I adore Doki Doki Literature Club. I genuinely do. Yeah. And
we've talked about this.
In high school, I had a bunch of friends that were like, they claimed to love it, but they only watched Let's Plays of it. And I was very adamant the whole time that I think that this game specifically is, I think it's peak because I think it's so interesting how they handle all the weird fourth wall break stuff. Like, I think going into your computer files and messing with it to like actively change the game is one of the coolest ideas I've ever seen. And I think there's something actively lost about the experience if you don't like have that like tangible experience of doing that yourself. And I think even though some of the, because like it's actually an apt comparison because Doki Doki Literature Club is now on like consoles, and you have to play in like a weird UI within your console to like do that stuff.
Yeah.
And it honestly reminds me of how they have to handle like, oh, you can look at the back of the game case to see your to see the channel and stuff like that. And granted, if you have the physical copy, you can look, which is actually what I did. But like, especially for Psycho Mantis, there is something lost today in like not being able to experience it as intended. However, I still think it's very much worth actually going through those situations yourself rather than just like watching them transpire. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree completely, man. You're cooking.
Thank you, sir. That's my big soapbox moment for this episode.
No, that box is soaping, man.
Thank you. We keep it soapy on this channel.
I think it's crazy that once again, we still have so much to talk about. We've not mentioned the stealth gameplay once.
True.
We've barely talked about like Liquid as a character.
True.
And like the genetic sub-theme of like, do your genes determine your like fate in your life?
True. That is actually a very interesting theme.
Yes.
You
fight genome soldiers.
Yeah. I mean, Liquid actually is something that's permeated culture so much that I was spoiled on it because you and I know how Liquid has permeated culture specifically.
Oh, yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised that he was still just peak in this game. Like, even though I knew the idea of like, oh, these are like weird clone brother things.
Twin snakes, you could say.
True. I still think he was very effective and cool. And yeah, jumping back to the first thing you mentioned, I'm not like a big stealth game guy, but I will say I was also pleasantly surprised that like I actually did like sneaking around in this game.
I think I agree. I think I think one of the best moments of this game is when you're in the very start and you hook a right and you go in the snow.
Yes.
And you avoid a patrolling guardsman and he looks down and sees your footprints in the snow.
Yes. That is insane.
That blew my fucking mind. And I got caught and I got game over.
Yeah. I died a lot in this game, to be clear.
Yes. Well, here is a criticism I have with MGS as a franchise.
Yeah.
For MGS 1 and 2 especially, 3 as well but less so, and 4 I think less so. Whenever you get caught, it is effectively over. There are a couple cool moments where you can sort of just like muscle through and fight it out and just like, you know, use all your resources and just barely survive.
Yeah.
Or you can just kill yourself.
Literally.
And I'm gonna be real. I think a mistake that I made that I don't particularly regret, but I think maybe robbed my experience, is in MGS 2 and 3 specifically, I would get caught and then just like run off the nearest cliff because it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And I think on some level that meant I wasn't like playing with all the systems of the game, because with 1, I remember I like tried to get out of a lot more sticky situations. It was just really hard.
Right.
The problem is you're not really designed to fight like 9 guys at once.
Yeah. Even
intentionally
with all the
so.
Weapons.
Yeah, like intentionally so. That's very intentional.
Yeah.
In fact, I think MGS 1 and probably 4 are like the only ones where I really feel like you can, and 5, you can like fight your way out of situations. And 2 and 3 especially, it just feels like pointless.
I see.
Except for like 1 or 2 little scenarios I remember doing it.
Yeah.
But I feel like that may have taken away from the experience because I never got to like have the fun of like, oh, I've got to wiggle my way out of this one.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god, I've got to kill myself.
I do think
So
that's
my death stats were crazy in like 2 especially.
Yeah, that is tough. I think there's got to be a way that could have been avoided in terms of like game design, but I can understand why Kojima didn't do that, but I do think it would be more fun if like I can use like all my ammo and my health packs to like my rations to like just muscle my way out of a situation. I think that would be cool.
I think it's just not worth it because now you don't have any ammo or health packs for the actual bosses.
Exactly.
Like you're just basically making the bosses less fun.
Yeah. I also can't stand in games where like if you get knocked down, like it's game over, which happens in No More Heroes 2 constantly. You're constantly knocked down and then you just immediately get jumped every time you get back up. And that happens a lot even in this game. I hope it's not too much worse, but it sounds like it is in MGS 2 and 3. But in this game I'd get like shot and knocked, like stunned, and then I'd just be like essentially stun locked because like 10 guys would just be like firing rifles right into my face.
Yeah. Which is not even like inaccurate. That's probably what would happen. Just like every guy in there shoots you to death.
Right.
Like I don't think Snake should be able to tank like 50 bullets to the sternum.
True. That is fair. It would be cool if he could, but it's not. I guess it's not trying to be that kind of game.
You know another thing that I really appreciate about this?
What's that, buddy?
I think the soundtrack is incredible.
It is. I certainly agree. I think this is a game where the soundtrack is incredible in both the sense that the music is great and like the sound effects, like the sound design is godly.
Mm-hmm. I think that is like the most uncontroversial thing we've said because like the little wing and like the little
yeah,
the heel and the alert are like burned into the cultural consciousness forever.
Yeah, it's genuinely up there with like Zelda with like the Zelda sound effects have permeated culture. Like I think this is genuinely like second place where especially like the exclamation point sound and the gunshots. I've heard that thousands of times.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I even think this game is infinitely quotable. I think you once told me like your metric for a good character is if would I want to play them in a fighting game.
Yes.
I think my metric for a good like script is there any sort of lines that'll just rattle around my brain forever.
Yeah.
And I think this game even does that with like the vocal performances because like I will never be able to say revolver without like thinking of Revolver Ocelot and going revolver.
Yeah. I agree. I mean this one I hate to be like, oh, this is just like a Suda 51 game, but like even just like the one-liners and stuff, like Snake yelling like liquid is great.
Liquid.
Big Boss is great.
Yes.
Does love bloom on a battlefield is like the best quote I've ever heard.
Yes. Unironically, yes.
It's this game is peak in that sense for sure.
There are many other quotes I want to say, but I'm pretty sure most of them are from other games, just because there's so many quotes in so many games.
That's fair.
I'm sure. Oh God, but no, there's so many. I think "Does Love Bloom on the Battlefield" is like some of the best.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Fox Die is such a cool like thing. Yeah. I love Fox Die.
I agree.
Just like as a name and as like a line delivery.
True.
I think it's another thing I've heard. We talked about this off mic, but the Twin Snakes remake is bad, and one of the reasons is that the voice acting they re-recorded it all, and it's way worse somehow.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Any more tricks, sorcerer?
Can we please?
That was me to Psycho Mantis.
True. Can we please do Mortal Kombat versus the world?
That would not be a nice episode, Wesley. I'm not gonna lie.
We'd be
a very not nice episode.
We'd be hooting and hollering, and I'd be crying.
You'd be crying because I'm gonna be so mean to your goat.
True. Any more trick sorcerer is the funniest line delivery I've ever heard, though.
Shout out to Kenshu Mortal Kombat X.
True. Reese, this is kind of off topic. This is going to be like a spiraling rabbit hole unless you nip it in the bud. So feel free to nip this. But isn't it very funny that Nintendo got Snake for Smash Bros. And like Sony was doing everything in their power to try to get an MGS character for PlayStation Battle All Stars or whatever the hell that game is called.
Yeah, and then they got Raiden, right?
I think so. Yeah, they did. They did.
Which, at the time, everyone was mad about, but I think is actually based.
I think it's based in like retrospect because now Metal Gear Rising is like beloved by all, which it deserves.
Yeah.
To be clear, it deserves that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it's very funny that like because of the horrible Twin Snakes version of the game, Sakurai had an in to like put his best buddies like OC in the game.
Wait a minute, is that why? I always heard the story was that Kojima had like a son who loved Smash, so he's like, "Daddy, can I get in?" And he's like, "Sakurai, can you please put my character in?"
That is also true. Basically, Kojima and Sakurai are friends IRL, and that part is true about his son wanting to be in the game. And basically, Nintendo and Sony just would not, and Konami would not be able to like work out the agreements. But then, Twin Snakes came out on the GameCube. So, because the talks for Brawl started when the GameCube was... Because Melee and Brawl have a lot of the same elements. It might even have the same engine, I think. But that might be wrong.
That'd be crazy if true.
True. But because, like, Sakurai was already planning out Brawl when the GameCube was still active, because of those rights agreements, they were able to work out the rights for Snake to be in Brawl.
That's so crazy.
True.
Wow. I think it's really fun now that you've played MGS1, how they had to like craft Snake from the aggregate of not using his guns.
I know.
They're like, yeah, he's got the missile launcher and the box.
True.
And the mines. C4.
To be fair, I actually do think that they did a great job. Like,
They did.
And also, I actually want to pop in my Brawl disc into my Wii U. Because I desperately want to hear like the codec calls about each of the like Nintendo characters now.
A couple of them are spoilers actually for MGS2, so maybe don't do that yet.
Okay, I'll do that after I play MGS2 then. But is that also peak that they were able to do that?
Just so we're clear, I think the codec calls are like the coolest thing Sakurai's ever done.
Yeah.
That's a great. Thank you for bringing that up because that was not even in my mind at all. But those are so good.
Yeah. I think it's funny that for Smash 3DS
That's
and Wii U, they tried to do that with Palutena's
Kid
guidance.
Icarus. Yeah.
Which, I will say, I personally do appreciate that because I think Kid Icarus Uprising is actually a goated game. But in terms of cultural standing, you have Metal Gear Solid, maybe the most important video game of all time, compared to a 3DS game that nobody played.
That nobody played, and everyone who did play it loves it, just so we're clear. I've never heard a bad review of that game.
It is insanely peak, I'm not gonna lie.
I've not played it, I want to.
I don't have it on a cartridge, but you could genuinely like physically borrow my 3DS if you ever want to play, because I recommend it that greatly.
Wow. Okay. Damn.
Is
there Palutena's guidance as like a codec call system? Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not as robust as a codec call, but like it's the same kind of idea.
Okay.
So it's it's a very funny idea.
If Nintendo was based in cool, they would port it to Switch 2.
I remember everybody wanted it to be ported to Switch 1, and then
Never
they didn't.
Trust me, I was there for those talks. I remember those predictions where it was like, yep, any day now.
I know. God.
This will be the market to make it bloom, and then they'll really push him over the edge. And, he's pushed.
I hate Nintendo.
So.
I'm like, my fists are balled up right now, man, in rage. I feel angry towards them.
Feel anger.
At least Konami is based now and is porting MGS4.
Yeah, thank God. Holy fuck. Well, buddy.
Yes.
I think I have to get out of here in a few minutes, but is there any more last-minute subjects you want to touch on?
I don't think so. I'm very happy we played it, and I can't wait to play MGS2 and discuss that as well.
I think you will personally love MGS2.
I'm very excited, man.
MGS2 is famous for everyone hated it for a long time for no reason.
That's awesome.
Like, it was... everyone was like, this is the worst sequel ever, and it's actually, like, a masterpiece, and everyone loves it now.
That's
like, just straight up, the chuds were wrong.
Chuds are always wrong, man. If there's one lesson to take away from this video, it's chuds are always wrong.
I agree with that. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this lovely episode, Leslie.
Of course.
And I'm so happy you enjoyed.
I am as well, man. Thank you for discussing, and thanks to the viewers for listening in.
Oh, yeah.